All right, this is where we are in the season. Game 53 with 2 games remaining before the All-Star break gets underway, and the 76ers have a back-to-back to close out the first half of the campaign, and they begin tonight with the visiting Toronto Raptors with Scottie Barnes, Emmanuel Quickley, and the shorthanded Raptors, as a matter of fact. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Pregame show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365. As always, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Along with Rich Hoffman, I'm Devon Givens, Brianna producing. We're at home because we're anticipating a little inclement weather out there. So everybody, if you're riding around, you're tuning in to us, you're going to the game, you're not quite there yet, be careful out there with the anticipation of whatever it is that we're going to get. Hopefully the meteorologists are wrong once again. No knock on them because I don't like the weather. Rich doesn't. Bree doesn't. We don't like it.
I don't.
So we hope that they're wrong, man. We hope that they're wrong. But everybody be careful out there. Before we get started with the 76ers tonight, Rich, we need to tell everybody that the shirt you are wearing right now in honor of the world champions, the world bleeping champions, Philadelphia Eagles, you got to go to our site, the ALLCITY store, to check out the merchandise for the Gold Standard collection. I love that one on your screen to the very left. I love the one also that Rich has on as well, but it's available to you right now. Go to ALLCITY, all PHLY right now to check out the merchandise, check out our website overall, and allphly.com to get in there, go to the merch section, see what you like, and grab a few. Hopefully you ordered it the night of, as Rich and company were in studio, and you get it in time for the parade, which is Friday. And with that, you could sport your PHLY gear, right, Rich?
Absolutely. And Devon, you can never go wrong with Kelly Green. You can never go wrong with a Kelly Green championship themed shirt. So head on in there. And so we'll talk about as we move off from maybe the best single organization in professional sports right now.
Right.
Let's go to the other end of the spectrum and talk about this Sixers game tonight.
Please do, man. I mean, look, we started things off tonight with the defense because, Rich, it's just been unbelievably bad as of late with these losses that they've sustained over these last couple of games, where they're just getting blown out, man, blown off the floor. And even when they try to keep it close against Milwaukee and the final score indicates that, all right, the final score is respectable. No, it wasn't. Giannis wasn't playing. The game before, Cade Cunningham against the Pistons on Friday night, he wasn't playing. And while you weren't with us just because they were 2 road games, just your thoughts, man, on where I'm sure you did, where the defense has been, especially these last 2 games against the Pistons and the Bucks.
So I started sounding the alarm on this before the weekend, where I was just like, they don't get any stops, man. And for a team that, I don't know, it feels like they have better defensive talent than, basically the worst defense in the league since January 1st. And, I think some of those home games during that 6-game homestand that we spent a lot of time together on, Devon, there was a lot of points in those games. They were fun games. The Sixers were super shorthanded. And we thought, like, yeah, they're not getting any stops. That's why they lost. That's why they lost that Denver game, even though they played great offense in that game, just because they didn't get any stops. And some of that is they're shorthanded, and some of that is they're playing teams like Denver. They're playing teams like Boston. Those teams have a lot of firepower. So you get Joel Embiid back. You get Paul George back. And this weekend, man, that was awful. And I guess if you believe in kind of cosmic balance and, not everything in Philadelphia sports can be clicking on all cylinders at once, maybe the Sixers did their job this weekend, because they had, that was a brutal weekend. I mean, it's really bad on about 5 different fronts, which we can get into, but maybe that allowed the Birds to hoist the Super Bowl trophy and do it in dominant fashion. And if that's the case, we'll take it. I'll make that trade. But yeah, the defense, man, they just don't get any stops. They just don't get any stops. And when you look at the 2 games that you guys covered this weekend, man, shorthanded, no Cade Cunningham against Detroit. And, it's funny, man, I rewatched that first half later. I was at a high school basketball game that night.
A lot more fun, I'm sure it was, right?
Yeah, it was a good game. Better use of my time. St. Joe's Prep against Bonner went down to the buzzer. But I saw the score and was like, oh man, are you kidding me? And all I could do was watch the first half. I didn't even get to the part where Embiid and Oubre, got into that little argument or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like game is over, man. Like they just the game was over. And then on Sunday, as we're all preparing for the Super Bowl, the Giannis-less Bucks, they just got out rebounded. It was crazy. It was bad. And I don't know, like if you are Nick Nurse, the rest of this year, I think it just has to start with like, this is completely unacceptable. Like defense is supposed to be Nick Nurse's thing. You have Embiid back. And look, I'm not saying he has been a huge solution on defense because he has not been the same guy on defense. Paul George, Kyle talked about something that has frustrated me all year, that he just does not take the big matchups even to cool a guy off when he's cooking like Dame Lillard was in the game last weekend. It's got to start with that. Like if you are the worst defense in the league and you are ostensibly still trying to win, you're not going to win that much. You're just not going to. It all starts with stops. There's enough talent here. You got Quentin Grimes. I get it. You're a little bit small on the perimeter. You're a poor rebounding team, particularly with Yabu at the 5. But come on, man, this is ridiculous. Like the worst defense in the league over basically a month and a half span. Come on, like this is getting absolutely ridiculous. Show some pride. Like drill down on your defensive principles. Again, I'm not asking to be a top 10 defense because these guys aren't going to be a top 10 defense at this point, but there are levels to this. There are degrees to this. And this has gone just way too far out of whack.
Way too far, man. And look, here's where I'll go with that, because we're looking at 2 games here against the Raptors tonight and the Nets tomorrow on the road. All 3 of you are right now in the play-in situation. And I'd imagine outside of the Raptors, the Nets,
those teams don't want to be in the play-in situation, man. The difference is the Sixers are the only ones who want to be in that situation. Those teams want the Sixers to get way ahead of them.
Right.
Not the actual players, but their front offices, their owners.
Yeah. So right now you have a game and a half up on the Nets who you face tomorrow. You have 4.5 games right now up on the Toronto Raptors who you play tonight. You have lost 3 in a row. The Raptors have lost 4 in a row. The Nets tomorrow, they have won 2 games in a row. And again, we talked about it on trade deadline show that we had, that one of the biggest surprises was Cam Johnson is still on that basketball team, but hey, that's their thing. They're still not good, even with him on the roster, despite the 2-game losing streak here. This is, again, Rich, a stretch here with 2 games. And we can't get beside ourselves because every time we talk about them getting to 9 games under 500 after cleaning up their act, after being down 14 or 15 games under 500, they fall right back into the trap of here we are again where they're 12 games under 500. So it's just about them, as we keep saying, chipping away. And when they do chip away, they can't help themselves. And these things pop up with the poor defense and the fact that they have these scoring droughts where they have these issues there on the floor. And our other category that we're going to get here to shortly, these things continue getting away. But man, they need a break, clearly. And as much as I would love to see Tyrese Maxey in the All-Star break, and he would have been fine even if he make the All-Star team. And if people didn't realize or didn't hear, where Trae Young is an injury replacement for Giannis, so Trae Young got the nod over Tyrese Maxey. All right, whatever. We thought that a Hawk was going to get in there anyway between Young. I thought Jalen Johnson might also get an opportunity before the injury happened. Trae Young gets the nod. They need a break, man. And these 2 games, it would probably feel good for them at least to go into the break on a 2-game losing streak versus winning 1 of the last 5 going into the All-Star break. They need both of these. And while it starts tonight against Toronto, they need something again to build off of going into the break, get this time off during the All-Star break, come back where the schedule is going to be pretty favorable for them against opponents that they should be able to play. Not saying it's favorable that they're going to win them, that they should be able to play and compete in these games and give themselves a chance. Rich, they got to win these 2 games here starting tonight against this Raptor squad.
And if you are a serious team, you would win both of these games easily. And the Sixers have been, for whatever their faults are over the Joel Embiid era, over these last 8 seasons, Devon, they've been a serious regular season team at least, and they would blow both of these teams out of the water. Maybe they'd win one by 10, they'd win the other one by 25-30, fine. And you just move on, you go to your break. You mentioned that some of the players need breaks. I mean, Tyrese Maxey needs a break. Like, I think he needs a break, even though he didn't really show it on offense the other night against Milwaukee. He had a terrific game. He's the main one. Like, Joel Embiid and Paul George, they don't need a break. Like, they've been sitting for like a month. And, maybe Joel needs a season ender break because of his knee injury and all the weird stuff that happened. Let me ask you something. What did you make of, I think what made this weekend worse for me is the whole Daryl Morey press conference post-trade deadline. And then the kind of media tour he went on. Josh Harris had some quotes where they basically were like, look, we're right there. Like, once we get our guys healthy, we'll be back in the playoffs. I think Daryl said something on the radio about, I don't think Cleveland would want to see us in the first round of the playoffs. And then you have those 2 games. Like, come on, man. And then that doesn't even get to the part where Daryl, the big thing I took from that 30-minute media availability, there were a few takeaways, but the big one is that he believes Joel Embiid's knee is going to get better over time with rest and recovery, and it's just going to get stronger, and that's going to be better. And then you have during the game the other day, I know you guys talked about it on the Sunday pod, but you have Joel telling Lisa Salters, I might need surgery. And it's just like, they're just not even close to on the same page right now. I don't even know what
lying. They can't even lie together. Something's off.
And I think Kyle made some good points too, where it's like, well, I don't think they would be lying, and that, they wouldn't send him out there if he could just completely damage his knee. Like, they would shut him down, right?
Yeah,
the season calls for that. But man, they're just not on the same page. And it's I don't know. I think when you watch Daryl's 30-minute press conference where he was basically like, look, we just got to get our guys back, and that will help things. Well, no, actually they got their guys back, and it was worse than when they were playing shorthanded. And Devon, I looked up Joel's his on-off numbers for the season, right? And I got him here right now. The Sixers is like the net rating when Joel plays is plus 0.6. That ain't cutting it, man. Like, that's not good enough. It's mostly, believe it or not, because the offense has been worse when he has played. But that goes to show how poor the defense is. And it's a negative number on the year too. It's just plus a little bit compared to the other Sixers players. Man, he's living in the +9, +10, +11, +12 territory. And that's kind of the story of Joel Embiid's career so far, man, where you had, even before he became this complete scorer, this guy who was scoring a point a minute and was pumping in free throw line jumpers, just like it was a joke how easy he was scoring. And really, that was the move that got him into MVP contention, where, he finishes in the top 2 of MVP voting 3 years in a row. Probably would have won it if he kept going last year as well. Even before that, even when he was a more inefficient offensive player than we would have liked, and, the free throws made up for some of that. Even when he would have these 7 for 22 type of games, you would look up at the end of the game and he would be like a +16, +18. And Devon, we've talked about like single game plus minus. That doesn't really matter to me that much. That could be fluky. The other team might just make some shots when you're in the game. But when you add it up over time and over a full season, it is useful to look at. And when you're getting Joel basically breaking even, that's just, it's not just that he has missed so many games this year. Mm-hmm. They're not getting the same impact from him. And whether that's a little bit of him, I think it's a bit of him being limited and just not having that same type of impact and rhythm and all of those things. Some of it might be the team's not using him correctly, whatever. The team isn't quite as good. Come on, they need him to be in that +9, +10 area with like a couple of the 5-man units around him being the best in the league. That's how this has worked. That's how this has been a 50-win team every single year. Yep. And they are pretty far away from it right now. And, look, I don't think they're going to get back there this year. I think this is in a lot of ways a lost season. Maybe they can start to play a little bit better down the stretch. I would love to see that. And he played better down the stretch, but in the future, they got to get him back to that level and making that type of impact on the game. He's got to get back to that level as well, because this just isn't good enough right now.
Yeah. So one of the questions that we had the other day on yesterday's show after the Eagles won the Super Bowl was any lessons learned from what the Eagles just accomplished, being in the Super Bowl 2 of the last 3 years, winning one of them, and what that organization has done. And I referenced at one point, Rich, where you were writing and covering the team when the real conversations were out there, Rich, of, hey, are the Sixers taking over the city with where they're going, the trajectory of looking up? Remember those conversations?
There was a minute.
It was some real conversations about that, and I asked the guys about it yesterday as part of our discussion, and Bree, of course. So just to kind of play off of that before we get to the other things with our show here, just kind of going back to our conversation yesterday, you witnessing the Super Bowl in the studio, doing the post-game show. You guys did a fantastic job, and your thoughts on if there's any lessons that can be learned from one organization to the next.
I think basketball and football, it's tough to take too much from them. Like let's give an example, right? Josh Harris runs both a basketball organization and a football organization. And he's doing a much better job with the football organization right now. So obviously they are not a one-for-one thing. You can be good at one thing and poor at the other thing. You are very much reliant on your players. I think one of the lessons I would take, and it's not even something that the Eagles, they did kind of specialize in it this year, but when you look back at their 2017 team, that was a much older type of team. I think there's an element of they just need to get younger. Like they need to get, this reliance on older players and just older players is rough. Like I'm sick of watching, the rebounding is the second category on the side screen right there. And it's just on the rundown. I'm so sick of watching these guys just get out rebounded every single night. And I get it. There are different elements to everything. There is shooting, there's half court execution, there's forcing turnovers, all of that stuff, but they just feel like they are at an athleticism deficit every single night. And that's a really hard way to work, man. You need Joel to be killing it at that level. The one thing I would say for the Sixers, and this is more just a PR thing. Like Daryl saying that like the Cavs don't want to see the Sixers in the first round. Like enough of that, man. Like enough.
Are you sure about that? They might want to, right? Get a quicker series, get in and out, done.
Well, they might want a little more of a challenge in that first round too. They might want to be prepped for a tougher second round series against the Bucks or whatever. So maybe they wouldn't actually want to see the Sixers, but because they would win in 3 games. But yeah, that stuff is pretty annoying. I do think it's a little bit hard to take, one for one in different sports. Like in basketball, you are very much married to your star player. And in football, you are too with the quarterback, but there is much more roster building, much more turnover. Obviously the draft is 7 rounds every year. And I'm looking at that Eagles team and they have Jordan Mailata on the team from 2018, a 7th rounder. So there isn't quite as much of that in the NBA. And I think Daryl, frankly, when it comes to the equivalent of 7th rounders in the NBA, has done okay, with like Justin Edwards and people like that. But my big thing is just like, man, like when the season is going really poorly, can we like at least like level with people and act like, this has been really rough.
Yep. So the rebounding in general, man, it's been really bad. Just to transition from one of your points about what they're not doing, and that is the rebounding, harping on that. Detroit, they were a minus 18 in rebounding in general. And then against the Bucks, they were a minus 12. On the offensive glass, it was 21-7. And then against the Bucks, it was 18 to 6 or 18-7. Again, a problem where the second chance points were a real issue for the 76ers because of the rebounds that they were giving up on the offensive glass. So while we talked about the defense, we've discussed how the offense has been for this basketball team. Man, again, this is a problem where the rebounding has been a real issue for this club. And if they don't rebound the basketball, even when Joel Embiid is out there, rebound the basketball. We've talked about this when he's not out there, when Yabusele is the starting 5, and you just need to put a body on someone and team rebound. Rich, they can't even rebound when he's out there now.
So to kind of move along the conversation of what can they learn, I don't know if they can learn this specifically from the Eagles, but like, Think about all those forced fumbles the Eagles had in the playoffs and how much they emphasize, the peanut punch and how much Nick Sirianni emphasizes turnover differential. You might say, okay, that might be fluky. We might be reading too much into that. But I don't see a Sixers team that has habits that translate from night to night right now. Like, I want to see normal defensive rotations. I want to see, guys boxing out and doing like the little things it takes to win a basketball game, because we're not seeing any of that. I want to see more accountability on keeping your man in front of you and on the perimeter. And I get it. They are a little bit athletically limited, but like, come on, man. Nick Nurse, he has done more with less before in his career. Like figure it out. And I just want to see a little bit of a culture, a little bit of, a team all rowing in the same direction. Like, can we see that for 15, 20 games? Again, the bar is not that high. I think that they could satisfy what I am asking them to do and still like be the 8th seed in the playoffs and get their doors blown off by Cleveland in the first round. But everything is so disconnected right now. Again, back to basics. That's my whole thing right here. Back to basics.
I mean, those numbers, man, are just unbelievable. When we talked about them in the post game, I looked at the numbers and you could see it happening in game, and you're like, seriously, rebound the basketball. What are you guys doing? You, me, and Bree, we sit there together and we're like, yo, rebound the ball. How did you allow that offensive rebound there again?
Drives me insane.
And then they do it the way that in the manner in which they did against those two teams, the Pistons and the Bucks on the road, with Kate Cunningham, who averages like six rebounds. He's close to a triple-double most games. Giannis, we know he's a beast on the boards as well, and they could not secure the rebounds at all. You're getting these other guys jumping in there and getting these second-chance opportunities for their respective clubs, and the Sixers are just standing there, looking around. Why didn't you get that one? And then you get the other part of it where you start to point the finger of just the lax part of things, where Joel Embiid is yelling at Kelly Oubre for something that you, my man, haven't even been on the floor. So you don't have the right, even as a leader that we ask you to be, you haven't been there to point the finger at somebody else. So just one thing after another with this basketball team right now. And that's exactly why they're sitting 12 games under 500 at 20-32.
It's one of those things where if he was playing the entire year and he had been carrying this team to an MVP level effort and doing the things that we have seen in past years from him multiple times, I think that's something we would have framed in a healthier sort of way, right? Sometimes teammates fight, right? Sometimes that is the best way to solve problems, as my AirPod gets knocked out of my ear.
All good.
Yeah. So I did catch it right away. There's good hands. You couldn't really see it on camera. Yeah. I appreciate it. I had the Zach Bond hands on the interception right there.
That's right. Great catch.
But you guys were absolutely right in that, like, he has not been available enough. And frankly, like, he's like late for meetings and things like that too. Like, he just has not been available enough for that to hit. And now, to Kelly Oubre's credit, like, he brushed it off and said, it was a healthy disagreement. It's fine. That's my brother. We move on, all of those things. So that's probably not a big deal in the long run. But yeah, I completely agree with what you guys say. There's just not enough consistency here. There's not enough doing the little things. Like, it's just they need to get back to basics. And it is a bummer, because we thought at the beginning of the season that this team was going to be pretty good and that they could maybe make some noise in the playoffs. Even if they weren't going to win a title, they would be a very competitive playoff team, a tough out. We are way below that. And they need to go back to basics and like start getting stops on defense, start rebounding the basketball. Nick Nurse, like, stop maybe trying to force turnovers at this insane rate and just, batten down on very simple defensive principles, and we'll see where it takes them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They're playing two bad teams the next 2 days, two shorthanded teams, two teams that their organizations actually want them to lose. Like, the players don't want to lose, the coach doesn't want to lose, but the organizations are clearly in rebuilding mode. You got to have these two games. But frankly, I would have said that over the weekend, when you get no Cade and no Giannis, you got to have those two games as well. And not only did they not have those two games, Devon, they weren't even close to having those two games. And that is Like, that is deeply embarrassing. I mean, again, like, we usually like to talk about the matchups and what might they do defensively and all those stuff. This is like very basic stuff. Like, will you show up, do your job, play hard, like follow the scouting report, all of those things, because you have not done that recently. Do that.
Yeah. So let's get to the starters tonight, and then I'll give you the Raptors starting lineup. The Sixers starting lineup tonight is according to their Twitter account, of course, and we always appreciate them with the image. Thank you, Bree. Embiid is playing tonight, Rich. He was questionable all day. Normal stuff. We're used to it. He's always up against it, but we have to watch out what we write for our description and all that, because it's unclear if he's going to play tonight, but he is in tonight. So you do get the 3 All-Stars of he, George, and Tyrese Maxey, along with Justin Edwards, Kelly Oubre. That was the starting lineup the last game. So I ask you that because that means Yabusele is playing once again, but he's coming off the bench. Do you like how, while they lost, but so didn't really show the right dividends that you wanted to see in the end, but do you like keeping Edwards in the starting lineup situationally, depending on who they're playing? Or would you just like to go, hey, if you guys are going to make this run, it's probably going to be Yabusele as your 5th starter next to Embiid? Would you prefer to see it that way?
Devon, either one. Like honestly,
okay,
it's
they're
fine.
Both going to play. I know.
I think Yabu probably is the better option if you're looking for more rebounding. But you showed that lineup, man, and Tyrese Maxey. I would say his defense is one of the positives of this season, along with really just his overall play over this past month plus. But his defense has looked better. The numbers say it's better. All those things. Then you have 3 wings. You have Paul George, Kelly Oubre, Justin Edwards. Again, not like the great, it's not the 2016 Warriors death lineup. Pretty good, right? All guys who are capable in their own right. You have the super young guy, and then kind of 2 vets in Kelly and PG. And then you have Joel in the middle. Like, stop the Toronto Raptors. That's plenty. And then you got Yabu coming off the bench. You got Quentin Grimes coming off the bench. Get some freaking stops. This is like the worst pregame pod for me, but I am just so fed up by watching other teams score this easily. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
No, this is not the worst. This is what needs to be said. You saw those last 2 games, and while you were all in the glory of the Eagles doing the post-game show, feeling great, writing great newsletters about the Birds, now you got to get back to reality, my man.
Guys, man, we got 2 more months of this, and I want to see some defensive effort.
I know.
I want to see some good basketball over these 2 months. Let's not even say good basketball. I want to see average basketball.
Average basketball to get some wins. Well, here's the starting lineup tonight. So we'll see what the defense, the rebounding, some average basketball looks like tonight against this starting lineup of Emmanuel Quickley and Grady Dick in the starting backcourt. Jonathan Magbo is the center, Scottie Barnes, and Ochai Agbaji, the sweet shooting guard from Kansas, as we remember him.
Decent year for him
in college. So. Yeah, he's been having a pretty good year, man. He's healthy and he's getting an opportunity with this bad team. They signed Brandon Ingram to a extension. He's not playing, but they signed him to an extension, 3 years, $120 million. You also have RJ Barrett.
Interesting.
Yeah, fair. RJ Barrett is out tonight. So again, shorthanded, man. Shorthanded. Should win this game.
Please, let's see some stops over these last 2.5 hours. And as the snow is falling outside of both of our homes, and we are tucked in, we are comfortable. Let's come back here in 2.5 hours and talk about a better effort than we have seen this week.
All right, let's get to the Bet365 pregame picks, our Bet365 picks, our pregame pick segment brought to you by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. All right, Rich, here we have just a quick one to get to. Just Tyrese Maxey over 26.5 points. He keeps extending that 25 or more streak. I think he's at 17 now. And I went with the new guy. Quentin Grimes has looked pretty good. So Quentin Grimes, 1.5 made 3-pointers tonight. First game at home, Rich, in front of the home crowd. You know, you get that little boost. He hits a second 3 to cap a 9-0 run to force a timeout by Toronto. You know what I'm saying? You see the vision there?
They better be ready for Eagles chance the entire game. I have been in the building the game after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I'm telling you, man, people are just going to start. Maxey's going to be running the pick and roll. He's going to be dribbling the ball up the court. People are just going to impromptu Eagles chants all over the place. Hey, maybe that gets them to get some stops tonight.
A lot of
I like both of those
tonight. Yeah, so that is at plus 240 for a same game parlay. Tyrese Maxey over 26.5. Over 1.5 made threes for Quentin Grimes. We've been on a roll, so make sure you tail that. Again, at Bet365 with our pregame picks. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Rich said, tuck in, everybody. You're at home. Nestle in, tuck in,
get the
hot chocolate. Your dinner is already made. Get the throw blanket, whatever you need, and you're relaxing. Yep. Watch the game. The snow is going to start coming down. Hopefully, it's not a lot of snow outside, and we're all good. We're in the clear for tomorrow or even tonight while you're driving. But with that said, we're going to step away. We'll be back after the game to check in with you for the post game. Let's see if the Sixers can snap their 3-game losing streak, and we're here talking about a victory with one of these final 2 games before the All-Star break. For Rich and Bree, I'm Devon. Kyle and Derek will join us after the game from the arena. Sixers Raptors, can they get the W? We'll discuss it all when we get back after the game right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. Enjoy, everyone.
Enjoy.
We all silly.